Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/football.
Welcome in, everybody, to Bear Bets, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns this season. And this week, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Download the DK Sportsbook app and use the promo code BearBets. It's BearBets, 2 words. When you sign up, DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Bear, Chris Fallica, once again joined by Geoff Schwartz, as I always am. And first round of the college football playoff, kind of a clunker, I guess.
Yes,
for some. But again, there was the takes and the reactions were predictable, but it should have been predictable. We kind of hinted at it last week that the favorites were probably the right side in the money line parlay, paying close to 2-1. And you just think back to the playoff. You're expanding it to 12 teams, so you are diluting the field and watering it down by taking 4 more questionable teams, 4 more flawed teams in the college football playoff. And then you're forcing them, you're saying you've got to go on the road because you're rewarding the better team with the home game in the first round. So we kind of shoulda, coulda, woulda seen this coming, but I think the fashion that these games were really non-competitive were what kind of sets some people off.
Well, it wasn't surprising to me. I think hopefully I said this on the show, but I think I said it in a text message to you guys that I thought it was, that the 4 favorites were going to cover, more than one underdog was going to win outright. I just didn't see that happening, Bear. You look at the way the sport has always been, where you have a team like Indiana SMU playing up for the first time. Like, they've not been in this situation ever before. And against good football teams on the road, Clemson's not as talented as Texas. That made a lot of sense. And obviously, I thought, I wasn't sure how Ohio State mentally was coming out of the Michigan game, but when they're on, and they look fabulous. I just think, again, not to belabor the point, but when your top 3 favorites right now, Texas, and that's mostly because the path they have, Oregon and Ohio State are on the same side of a bracket, that's probably not the best system to have for determining a champion. We talk about the NFL, and we'll get to NFL podcast. The #1 seed gets a bye and then plays the worst team in the next round. Having the Chiefs having Ohio State and Oregon play each other is like the Chiefs and Bills, the 1 and 2 seeds, playing in the wild card round. Like, you would never have that happen. And look, Oregon and Ohio State would probably have to play each other at some point to get through to the next round, or in the title game at some point. Like, this was going to happen. And it's happening this week now. But then the winner gets Texas. And we gave out Notre Dame, Bear, a couple weeks ago to win the championship at 10-1. I got it 9-1. And they have to beat a Georgia team without a starting quarterback, and then probably Penn State, and they're in the championship game. Yep. And so, those 2 teams, Penn State and Notre Dame, feel like the teams to wager on right now if you missed out on an opportunity, because they're going to play each other in the semifinal. And you have both those tickets in your back pocket. You have a chance to use those to make money in other ways.
And if you like Notre Dame, in the DraftKings markets right now, you can, if you think Notre Dame is going to beat Georgia and then they'll beat Penn State, assuming Penn State beats Boise, you can just you could get Notre Dame, Ohio State 8-1, Notre Dame, Oregon 9-1, just to kind of name the college football playoff finalists. And that's another way you can kind of fool around and not even worry about who's going to win the national championship, but just to kind of get there, because I think most people do think that Ohio State and Oregon are the 2 best teams in the country. And Ohio State, that's what people couldn't really grasp with Ohio State is they were still power rated the best team in the country by a ton of people. And the way they lost to Michigan was inexcusable, but the performance that they had kind of against Tennessee reminded people about how good of a team that this can be. So it would not surprise me at all. And I think a lot of people are expecting that the winner of this game will go on to win the national championship. But it's ironic and funny because the winner of this game is probably going to have to play Texas in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. And so, like, you're going to be either Oregon playing basically a road game in the semifinal, or Ohio State playing Texas as well in that stadium. So, again, there's the committee just absolutely screwed up the seating, screwed up the bracket. They could have corrected a lot of things. And I made the joke on social media throughout the week, like, how could they have looked at these seatings and looked at the way the bracket was potentially going to play out and say, yep, we nailed it?
Well, I don't know if it's the committee's fault per se. It's the format's fault, right? Like, the format dictated this had to go in a certain direction. And yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, Bear, you know who wins the Rose Bowl? They seem to always win. They get Ohio State, Oregon, which was the game that they dreamt to ever have. So, look, Oregon and Ohio State had to play each other at some point. It's happening now. It's not great, but if you miss the boat on Notre Dame, I think you're still getting on their future.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue I have with the committee were the seedings in that. I think Ohio State should have been the 5 seed. I think they had a better resume than Texas. They had better wins. They beat Penn State head-to-head. So I think that's where they ultimately screwed up with the seedings. One place where hopefully there won't be any screw-ups right now is the gambling group chat, where Geoff and I are joined by Sammy P. and Will Hill to go over some of these college football playoff games and more. Enjoy. College football playoff quarterfinals are upon us. One of the bigger marquee games, as Geoff and I are joined by Sammy P. and Will Hill in the gambling group chat. Notre Dame against Georgia. Some of the apps early on opened Notre Dame as a favorite here, but right now we are looking at Georgia 2 and a total of 44. There are some 1.5s out there. If you can shop around, always look for the best number, depending on who you like. I'm really curious to see what the Georgia offense looks like with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback after getting all the reps with the ones for 3 weeks or so. I keep going back and forth on this game. And initially, I like Notre Dame, possibly, but it seems like they are a side which a majority of the people are on. And I was talking to one person who's around Georgia a lot. And he tells me, he goes, just trust me, Gunnar Stockton can play. I've seen him practice against our ones for a couple of years now. So he's feeling pretty confident. And then another person who I spoke to who breaks down a lot of games and has no real affiliation to either team. I said, I kind of like Notre Dame here. And he goes, well, that surprises me because these two teams are kind of similar and Georgia just has better talent. So, Geoff, I'll start with you. What do you think about the Sugar Bowl?
Everyone loves the backup quarterback, so the backup quarterback has to play, right, guys? I mean, it's everyone. Everyone looked great in practice. Here's my concern about this, right? Like, what happens when you get sort of off the game script? I think Stockton will be fine when things are going as planned, right? When the first 15's rolling, when it's 1st and 10 and 2nd and 3. But what happens when it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10? When he has to make plays he has not made before. We saw it in the SEC championship game, that bad interception, right, late in that game when he tried to make an extra play, guys. So I never want to doubt Georgia because I think you could say, hey, let's collectively as a team, with our team talent and our mentality, we can make up for backup quarterbacks. I think Notre Dame is not maybe dynamic enough to score a lot on Georgia guys. I don't have much on this game. I will say I think it is interesting how people are so confident that backup quarterback is just going to roll through a playoff caliber team such as Notre Dame will. So I'm staying away from this one. I do think maybe there's a live wager to make if Stockton's not playing well, hop on the Irish at some point. But I do think it's just the confidence people have in a backup quarterback is not surprising, but I just want to caution everyone on that.
Yeah, I feel like I've underrated Notre Dame. I think Georgia against running quarterbacks is something that, they struggle with. Leonard can exploit that. Love is a tremendous college player. He's going to be a really good pro in a couple of years. I think he's probably a good bet. I'd be interested to see what his Heisman odds up, at least to get to the ceremony in New York next year. That being said, I just can't get past the schedule difference. I think Georgia just played a much tougher schedule, and Kirby Smart with extra time to prepare. To me, that's the tiebreaker. I don't feel great about it, Sammy, but I am going to go Georgia based on those two things: strength of schedule, time to prepare.
If we flip the names on the front of the jersey, I wonder what the spread would be. I honestly do. I think a lot of the Georgia mystique and the prestige and all the championships they've won recently still holds a lot of water when Georgia plays at a playoff game, and I understand it. Look, I have a Notre Dame ticket at 10-1. I hope they win. I'm a little nervous, but if we Jimmy the Greek this and put all the position groups, where's Georgia's definitive edge? Okay, it's at head coach, but on the field, are they better at O-line? Are they better at D-line? Are they better at quarterback? I don't think any of those three things are true.
I think they might be better up front now. That offensive line versus defensive line match might be favoring Georgia just because of the injury that Notre Dame suffered in Indiana. Maybe.
That'd be the only reason why, because the injuries. Yeah.
Could be. I don't think there's any concrete area where they are definitively better. And we have to understand that this Georgia team on defense is nowhere near the team that it was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, the only time we really saw that Georgia defense show its teeth was in that game at Texas, where they were a big underdog and clearly challenged and rose up on the road in Austin to get the win. So, yeah, I think there is a good chance that we see the winner of this game playing for a national title in a couple weeks. Back again with another college football playoff quarterfinal breakdown. Myself, Geoff, Sammy P, Will Hill, and it is the breakdown for the DraftKings Super 6 game of the week. And it is the game taking place in Pasadena between number 1 and undefeated Oregon against Ohio State. The question obviously will be, what will the result of the Rose Bowl be? Will it be the result that we saw in Autzen back in October, where the Ducks were a 1-point winner and a great game over Ohio State? Or will it be a little bit of revenge for Ohio State for that close loss out in Autzen? And the Buckeyes play the way they did last Saturday against Tennessee. That will be a tough ask for Oregon to win. But the Ducks are healthier, Geoff, than they certainly were in Autzen a couple weeks back. And I know you're a little nervous. And I know you really aren't sure if you like the Ducks' chances in this game. They probably shouldn't even. Should probably just save the travel budget and just not even go down and play the game, right?
I mean, no one can beat Ohio State when they put up nearly 500 yards and 7 yards of play on offense. That's impossible. It just can't happen. There's no way. So I don't even know why we show up, guys. Everyone know that, they beat Tennessee. Wow. Okay, a couple of things from the first game, right? We talk about sort of like what-if moments, like what changes the game from game one. Obviously, Will Howard not sliding late would change the game. But let's talk about the first drive of the game. Oregon had an interception that was not ruled correctly, and Ohio State scored 7 points. That's a big what-if moment. That changed the score of that game. Oregon has a 4th and 2 at the 5-yard line. Guys wide open. Gabriel misses them. That's another 7 points. Like, there's more ways in my mind that Oregon can play better, that Ohio State plays better in this game, right? So Oregon's healthier, which is hugely important. And you mentioned Ohio State's defense, and it has been a lot better. Who have they played at quarterback? Who have they played at wide receiver? No one. So I feel good about where Oregon's at that bye week, obviously, to get healthy. And I like that Ohio State, Sammy, feels like they're going to win this game. If you listen to their players and their coaches, and their fan base doesn't matter, it's social media, but very much feels like they think they're going to go in and just avenge what happened on the stadium, because that's the way football works. And quite honestly, in rematches, doesn't always work that way in college football.
Sorry, guys, I was busy betting Toledo +7 because Eli Holstein is not playing today. So if you have a 7 right now and you're on this Zoom call, go bet the 7, because the 7s are going away. Look, this is, to me, it's very fun when we have these enigmatic teams like Ohio State. And we always joke about the Marge Simpsons of the world. And, you got to bet Tennessee, not only to cover, but to win. Nobody wanted to bet Ohio State against Tennessee for the most part. So did I. But generally speaking, it was Tennessee this, Tennessee that, Tennessee money line. Tennessee's warming up with their shirts off. Tennessee money line. Guys. Like, that matters. I mean, they got rolled from the get-go. But what that does, when Ohio State goes up 3 touchdowns early and sits on the lead and puts Tennessee away, Ohio State is good. So now they wouldn't have been favored before, but now they're favored again. Like, it's this weird one-off where Ohio State dominates Tennessee. So now Ohio State is almost 3 points better than Oregon. And I'm not riding that overreaction wave. Like, if I could get a 3 with Oregon, yes, ship it. And I do think we get there. I don't know how long it lasts. I don't know where we close. But if I could get a 3 on a team that I think is better, I will take 3 on Oregon.
Yeah, I think the timing of this is important because if you do like Oregon, what's the point of taking 2.5 when you might get a 3? If it goes down to 2, who cares the difference between 2.5 and 2? Meanwhile, the difference between 2.5 and 3 is all the difference in the world. I picked Oregon before the season in our little Fox write-ups to win it all. I'm not going to jump off board now. I still think the Ohio State offensive line issues are real. Am I like super confident pounding the table? Oregon's absolutely going to win this game? No, I mean Ohio State's got a lot of talent. I think this will be a fourth quarter game tied close with 5 minutes to go. I'm curious for you guys, Geoff, like Bear, your experience with college football. Do you know like how much ticket allotment, the fact that this game is played out west in the Rose Bowl, how much does that help Oregon? Does that matter at all? But I would look over, if anything, just because.
Crowd will be 50-50.
Yeah, okay.
It always is for these games anyways. I mean, Oregon's had more time to buy tickets, but they still just give the allotment. The same, and it's a CFP game, and so it's different than a traditional Rose Bowl. There'll be corporate tickets there, I would imagine. Home field advantage or whatever. Ohio State will travel. This is like a classic, as Bear mentioned. It's like the classic Rose Bowl. I'm sure the Rose Bowl is thrilled that they get basically a championship game in the quarterfinal system. So, the offensive line stuff for Ohio State is real, but they got the ball out so quick against Tennessee. It didn't matter. Like, I mean, the game plan, and I give them credit for just deciding the right thing, which is like, hey, guys, we have Jeremiah Smith, and we have Ibuka, we have Tate, we have Will Howard. Like, let's throw the football, the anti-Michigan plan. But if you look at what Michigan did, just play 2 high safeties and sort of force them to run the football with that offense. I'm sure Oregon will do the same thing, guys, because that worked for Michigan. Why not try it on Ohio State? I do think, guys, I know I was joking earlier about I think it's a field goal game either way. Like, I do think this game is very close. It would shock me if any team won by more than 7. Obviously, a 37-30 game could certainly happen, 35-28. If anything happened more than that, I would be stunned in either direction.
Ooh, you like the over then, huh?
I like the over
at DraftKings?
Yeah. I just think that in this day and age of college football, you're getting 3 to 4 stops. That's it. And obviously, red zone issues have hurt Oregon this year at times. It did against Ohio State. But I just don't think defenses stop good offense. And look at what Ohio State has. Look at what Oregon has. You're just not going to stop them. Can you slow them down? Can you force a turnover here and there? Absolutely. But I don't think we're playing this game and each team's in the 20s. I just don't see that happening. Plus, a new thing with the sport, we know this. Coaches are going for it on 4th down. It could certainly backfire. But if you convert 3 of 5 4th downs, game's probably going over, guys. So I certainly lean the over. I think both teams understand too. They got to score points to win this game. Like you're not winning this game 21-20. So I do like the over. Again, I try to stay away from Oregon games to wager on, but I think it is an over game.
Yeah, you want to be careful too. Like a lot of people saw that number on Bills Lions and were like, "Oh, that's too high." And then in the second quarter, you're like, it was actually not high enough. So those are the college, comparisons. Yeah. This is basically Buffalo and Detroit of college football.
What a novel idea. The 2 teams in college football that I think most people think are the 2 best teams in college football have kind of a aggressive mindset head coaches and offensive coordinators who go forward on 4th down a lot and trust their players to make plays and put them in a good position to use the proper analytical decision to amazing how that works out. All right, I might get like shamed off of the show and shamed off of the set here, but I'm gonna bring it up only because it's such a big thing in the NFL. We talked about Georgia, Notre Dame earlier. Now we're talking about Ohio State. Like, we think they're both going to be close games. Is there any world where anyone would consider going through the 7 and the 8 to tease both dogs up?
Geoff, that's your cup of tea. I would just worry about the Oregon one because it's higher scoring.
I'm not touching any college football teaser. No way.
I wouldn't either, but I'm sure there's probably someone out there thinking it.
Sammy is.
Nerd.
Sammy's thinking it for sure. Yeah,
no, I'm not.
You can tell. The Crippler's going to be on it. We know that for sure.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what ultimately. But I think the way I'm kind of leaning into this as well is kind of what Will said. Like it's hard to really in a high scoring game with so many points. Again, teasing college is ridiculous to begin with. But again, people like doing it, and I figured I would just throw the possibility out there. I'll probably play again. Jeremiah Smith at anytime touchdown score. I see he's -110 now at DraftKings, so that will be certainly a play for me. And wow, Jordan James -210 anytime touchdown scorer. So don't have really a ton of Well, some of the receiving and rushing props are up right now, but just kind of the one-way markets on the over are up. So we'll have more time to break down the Rose Bowl and the other games moving in the next couple of weeks or so. But before we move on, any other thoughts on the Rose Bowl before we move on to the Peach Bowl?
No, just if you look at the first matchup, 500 yards of offense for both teams, over like 7 yards per play. I think Oregon was like 7.5 yards per play. So if you're thinking, hey, like what Geoff said, hey, these are two good teams, play the under, this might be more of an over game.
Was anybody here concerned after watching the Texas-Clemson game as we kind of move on to Texas-Arizona State in the Peach Bowl? Texas 13.5-point favorite, total of 52. I was a little bit, again, I know Klubnik had an unbelievable game, and maybe he just went ham, and maybe Clemson just has different pieces to be able to have success. But it was a little troubling that I thought that Texas allowed as many points and as many yards as they did.
Yeah, and I still can't get there with you. Ewers just scares me, especially when you're talking about laying 14. I just think, look, maybe you'll have Bond back in the lineup for this matchup with all the time off. I think you would, but Arizona State is a dog that can, in theory, run the ball. Can they have success against this Texas defense? I mean, that's not the way to have success against them with their run defense, but Arizona State, good against the run, good against, good running the ball themselves. I'd actually only look towards the dog, and part of me, this is a dangerous way of thinking. Eventually, we're going to get some of these big dogs to bark, to bite back a little bit, and play something of like a competitive game. And I don't trust Ewers. I like the Arizona State coaching staff. I like the running back. I mean, we were sitting here, in the summer talking about how they wouldn't win 3 or 4 games or whatever. It's amazing. Yep. They're sitting here a couple wins away from a national title game. So, Sammy, I don't love it, but if anything, I take Arizona State plus the points.
Let's revisit a conversation we had 3 weeks ago on Bear Bets when we all laid out how the 5 seed was the best seed in the playoff. And, you four-eyed virgin, you don't know anything.
Whoa.
Look at the point spread. Yep. Look at the point. They're a 13.5-point favorite. Yep. And the number 1 overall seed in the second round is an underdog. Yep. That just tells you how flawed this playoff format is.
Yes.
Correct.
This total 52, could Texas win 38-7? Yes. I waited till the very last minute, took 14 with Clemson, had to sweat that out. I don't really want to live that nightmare again, even though Clemson probably should have gotten in. 3rd and goal at the 1, 4th and goal at the 1. My favorite play, Bear. Let's put the quarterback in the shotgun. Of course. Let's move him 4 yards backwards. Let's go backwards, not forwards. This line, the fact that it's 13.5 and Texas is the 5 seed, and the 1 and the 2 are in virtual dogfights, that's unbelievable to me, that the line is this high for the 5 seed and the 1 and 2 are both in wars.
I think a way to play this game, guys, is Arizona State first half. They're going to throw everything they have at Texas early in this game. They're off a bye. Every trick play that Dillingham has ever drawn up, they're going to just do everything possible. Because here's the thing. If Texas gets up 14 points in this game, that's it. Because Arizona State's not going to throw their way back in this game.
No receivers.
And so they have to come out early and just control the tempo of this game and throw every creative thing they have at Texas. Over 60 minutes, I just don't think Arizona State can withstand the bodies that Texas will throw at them. So that's the way I play this game. I think the over is interesting, Sammy. I kind of agree with you there. I don't know if Arizona's defense can stop Texas, even though Quinn Ewers is certainly, I think we all sort of agree. I just don't know about him in every game. But I could see this game getting out of control fast, Bear. Like if Arizona State goes 3 and out to start, Texas scores. I mean, it could be the same sort of score we saw against Clemson, but probably 45-21. Arizona State cannot play from behind, put it like that. I think Dillingham knows that. So I think early in this game is where to take advantage of an Arizona State first half wager.
And someone was mentioning it, I think it was Will with the Rose Bowl, about like crowd, home field advantage and how would it be. Like, I have read that there have been a lot of flight difficulties in terms of either schedule or cost price from Phoenix and out west to get to Atlanta for the Peach Bowl, and travel situation much easier from Texas to get to Atlanta. So this might be one of those games where you do see a bit of a crowd advantage for Texas in the quarterfinal here as they look to. Yes.
How about this? Piggybacking on Sammy's point about Texas, if they win this game, they get to play in the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State, so they get a home game in the semifinals as the 5 seed, where Oregon, for example, would have to obviously play at the Cotton Bowl in a Texas home game for their semifinal. Now, Ohio State's the 8th seed, obviously, so they don't get that sort of. I mean, like to the point about Texas sort of having the easiest path. I think they are right now the favorite, right? It's flipped to Texas being the favorite for this reason, right? You get Arizona State, you get a home game if you win, and then you go play in Atlanta, which again, Texas travels well. We know that. So another sort of thing about being the 5 seed that gives you an advantage if you're Texas.
Well, the 5 seed is the 1 seed. That much to me is obvious. I'll speak for myself. The 5 seed this year is the 1 seed, and we'll see how they fix that going forward. The one point that we should also discuss, if you're a dog player, you already have value given how the first round went, right? All the favorites win, all the favorites cover. So the books are not going to make these favorites relatively cheap. They're going to open them higher than maybe they should because people remember what they've last bet. And people that listen to this show that did that money line favorite parlay, bang, 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 bang. And that just lined them all up and bet them straight. Bang, 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 bang. So what do we do when we open these lines up? Well, let's open Texas 13.5. Let's open Penn State 10.5. Let's just make them near key numbers or through key numbers already. And then if you want to keep betting them up as expensive as they already are, by all means, have at it, Hoss. We could see this game get to 14. It would not surprise me at all. It might go through 14. So if you like Arizona State, and we'll get to the other game, Penn State, Boise, if you like these dogs, just wait. Like, there's no need to take 13.5 right now. Yeah. There's no need. You could just wait it out. And just from a true number standpoint, like, I know that we have a lot of Arizona State people that listen to this show, and they text and tweet all the time. True number on this game. Texas, I got 127. Arizona State, I got 120. So true numbers, 7. The number's 13.5. This is very expensive on Texas. It's not to say Texas can't win and cover, but these favorites, guys, are a little bit richer than they maybe should be because of what happened last round.
Yeah, in one game where I do like the favorite, I think I speak for Geoff as well in liking the favorite, is the Fiesta Bowl, where Penn State is an 11-point favorite over Boise State. I just don't know how many stops Boise State is going to get against this Penn State offense and their ability to run the ball. And on the flip, this is a completely different animal than what Boise has been facing for a majority of the year defensively against that Mountain West schedule. And Sammy, you were talking about like changes that need to be made. The first change, obviously, is we can't have Boise State and Arizona State with their power ratings like being the 3 and 4 seed to get a first round bye. Put them in, if you conference champ, fine. But whatever your final college football playoff rankings are, 1, 2, 3, 4, they get the bye, because it is ridiculous now that you look at the 3 seed and the 4 seed, double digit fade to underdogs, and then you got the 1 and the 2, one's an underdog and the other's a 1.5, 2-point favorite. But I like Penn State here. Talked about the 5 seed getting an easier path. The 6 seed, the 2 conference title game losers, Texas and Penn State, the double-digit favorites, now the easier paths to the semis. They're the teams that won them. But the conference titles matter. We need to make the regular season matter. Yeah. You really made it matter or not by screwing the top 2 overall seeds. But yeah, I think with Allen and Singleton, the Boise State defense, the defensive line's not bad, but again, entirely different animal here. I'm laying the 11 with Penn State.
This is the same handicap as the 2 games we saw last week in Notre Dame, Indiana, and Penn State, SMU. It is a team that is stepping up in competition that is not now. Boise State did play Oregon in week 2, not the same Oregon team that Oregon is now, and they played well.
That's what I was going to that's what I was going to ask you. What would be, because that's going to be the first thing people say. Well, they nearly went to Oregon. They lost by a field goal in Oregon. Like, what would your response be? Why is that different than this situation?
I mean, I'm looking at it. That was September 7th. It's December 26th today.
Doesn't count if it's in September, Bear.
We don't do this for any other sport. We say, like, if there was an NFL game in week 16, we're like, back in week 2, we don't do it. Like, the teams are different now, right? And the teams are totally different than they were in that week 2 game. Now, Genty is better than anything SMU or Indiana could throw at their opponents, and I give you that. But this is a different class up in athlete, in trench play, and and if they say if we say Genty, you're not getting anything, put 8 and 9 in the box. Is Matson going to beat the Penn State defense? No. So, and then to your point, is Boise State getting stops? Guys, I'm looking at their schedule right now. The just the overall efficiency numbers for their opponents in conference play. One team was under 95, right? 95. That was UNLV, who they played twice. It's 104, 105, 120, 117, 95, 116, 102 are the efficiency rankings for the teams they played. Penn State, Penn State is what, 6, 4, 5? I don't even know. They're the top 7. I know that. I just think, Sammy, it's such a huge step up for Boise State. I see this being the same exact game as we saw. I think Boise State might start faster than SMU did, but to me, the end result's the same. Penn State has a big win in this one.
I was just thinking back to week 2 in the NFL when the gambling collective was asking, are the Saints a Super Bowl team? Remember?
Can Dennis Allen be coach of the year?
And Kubiak was the next McVay, and they lost. I think they lost the next 7 games or something. Whoa, that was actually a thing this year. The Saints were 2-0, and they were Super Bowl sleepers. Look, the other thing to talk about with every Penn State game is Franklin. And Franklin in this role, in the favorite role from 7 to 14 or 7 to 17, has been dominant. Not good, not great.
19-1-1, Sammy.
Not great, dominant in this role. Now, when you put the plus sign next to Penn State, you go, when they face a team that's better than them, that's when Franklin gets tight and they end up blowing it, because that's what he's done in his career. But the games they should win, and they should win handily, historically, as Geoff just told you, they take care of business in these roles.
Yeah, I was on Penn State last week. I'm not as confident this week. I actually think there's like a swinging doors moment where if Jennings for SMU doesn't throw that ball on 4th down, just runs for the 1st down, then throws the pick 6, like there's an avenue where maybe that game is more competitive. Even though I felt like I was on the right side with Penn State. I think this is a good live betting game because if like you guys mentioned, if the quarterback for Boise State, if he has to throw the ball, if he gets off track here and it's 3rd and 7, or if they're playing from a negative game script, I think you can probably lay even a worse number with Penn State. And we've seen in these bowl games, and we'll talk about some of these bowl games coming up, the number, it feels weird to say, the number hasn't mattered. You're either on the right side or you're not, whether you're laying 4, 6, 9, 10. It's just you're on the right side or you're not. If you're going to bet Boise, I would just say, hey, keep it competitive for the first half. Maybe bet them for the first half. I don't think it'll look as bad as Penn State SMU, but it would be a lean towards Boise on the first half. I think they could be competitive for maybe a half, and eventually Penn State probably pulls away here, Bear.
And you are right, just with the whole Penn, kind of like the choose your own adventure path for Penn State and SMU. They're like, they got 2 pick 6s, that 4th down go. I mean, certainly opportunities were there for SMU, and they did not take advantage. And then just the gap, it just snowballed from there. Speaking of snowballing, we talked about a game a couple of weeks ago, the Oklahoma Navy Armed Forces Bowl, where at the time when we were doing the show, there were 6.5s and 7s out there on Oklahoma Navy, and literally the show got done, and within a couple of hours, this number moved to 4, and now we're looking at Oklahoma -3 against Navy. Like, I can't sit here and talk about this game now because our bet was made however many days ago that was. But can you make Will, is this the old Fez, a bridge too far with Oklahoma? You want to bet against this line, move all the way down and lay 3 with Oklahoma, maybe a cheap 3 with their entire team in the portal?
Yeah, it might be. Maybe, hey, you let the punt keep rolling and eventually you down it. Maybe it's maybe you get to 2.5 here with Oklahoma and you take a money line or you lay 2.5. I'd actually lay Oklahoma at this number just because, hey, they don't have that much in terms of like their defensive opt-outs. I mean, to combat my own point, we've seen these line moves do very well here in these bowl games, Sammy. Like I said, you either have the information and you're on the right side or you're not. I mean, look at Coastal. Was it Coastal versus UTSA on Monday afternoon where the line went from 4, 6, 9, 12?
I have those numbers
matter.
for you.
You could name any number. They covered any number, but this one might be one where I'd actually take Oklahoma.
So favorites are 13-1 straight up and 11-2-1 against the spread. And if you steam chase any line movement of 3 or more points, sides and totals, off a consensus opener before kickoff, you're 10-3-1 against the spread.
And
so
that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. You're chasing the steam. You're betting a bad number off of the steam, and you're still hitting, 80%? That is crazy. Ridiculous.
Those books are getting crushed. They're getting crushed in bowl season. They've been crushed in the NFL. I mean, go back to last Saturday. Every single favorite won, including in the FCS. Like, if you just parlayed all the favorites together.
And the one underdog that won that weekend was North Dakota State, who I imagine everyone was on them as underdog, getting 3.5 points. I think.
Oh, that's right. In that game. Montana State. Yeah.
But still, I'm sure the general public was like, "Oh, North Dakota State getting points. Sign me up for that one." I had the Jackrabbits. I had the other side. A couple. That's why Bear was so salty yesterday during the Chiefs game. The thing with bowl season that I think is interesting is some of these games, as we get to the better teams playing, is how much do the starters actually play, right? So Colorado, BYU is getting 4 points. I know Dion has said Shedeur and Travis Hunter are going to play, and I do believe they will play some, but are they playing the whole game? Are you really going to risk it? I saw the story about him taking out insurance, and every team does this, by the way, for their players. It's not unique. I think it's unique. Maybe Colorado did it for all the draftable players.
Colorado's not the only team that does it. Other teams do this in bowls?
No, the only one ever to do it. But I just find it interesting, Will, are we thinking they're playing the whole game? I mean, I just don't know how smart that is. I mean, Bo Nix, I know last year played most of the game, but that was to get a record. That was to get to the completion record. There's no record for Shedeur to have in this game, or Travis Hunter to have in this game. So I lean BYU +4, a game we'll talk about a little bit later. Is Cam Ward playing the whole game for Miami? And so those are situations to look at where we think starters might play, but how much are they playing? And maybe there's a way to jump in live at some point.
Yeah, I can't imagine Hunter and Sanders would play all 4 quarters. And if you do, okay, maybe you got a decent bet with Colorado. But if you're taking forward with BYU and those two guys are not playing the whole game, I think you got a hell of a bet with BYU. So I for that reason, I would take BYU. I think it's there's some chance. I don't want to say here 25, 50. I don't know what the chance is, but there is some chance that both of those guys don't play all 4 quarters. That would make it a good bet on BYU. And kind of odd we get a conference matchup here in bowl season here, Sammy.
One more thought on Oklahoma Navy. This total has been slammed down, 46.5 on the open, down to 43 at DraftKings. Still might not be low enough. And let's also never forget that Oklahoma decided we want Jackson Arnold more than we want Dylan Gabriel. How about that? How did that work out for your offense?
Is now the Auburn fund has opened up. Jackson Arnold going to Auburn, and Singleton from Georgia Tech. Old Hugh Freeze rebuilding that down there. That's all a bad season will do. But yeah, you talked about Cam Ward. I'm curious about that as well, and it kind of ties in with Syracuse and Wazoo as well. We've seen Fran Brown talk about our players. You're here to play football. And you wonder, is Kyle McCord going to play the entire game, and some of the other offensive players for Syracuse? Is that line net? The game's basically unbettable, I think, where it is. But being a Miami guy, I have the same questions about Cam Ward in Miami, and with this game, do I want to lay points with Miami in this game? I don't feel it, because maybe it's a situation where, okay, we're going to let you play, but you're only going to play a quarter. You're only going to play a quarter and a half. You're going to get the standing O coming off the field in Orlando for having a great year, record-setting offense. But at the same time, we're looking out for you, and we don't want you to jeopardize your NFL career in case something happens and you do get hurt. So I wonder about that. I know they're talking all the right things about wanting to win 11 games, but again, I think that's probably a higher scoring game regardless, because the Miami offense is so bad. Syracuse -17. Again, we talked about the line moves earlier. This game, whatever it was, 6-8, and now you have nobody playing for Wazoo in what could potentially be a very ugly Holiday Bowl, Sammy.
I'm looking at the open 5.5.
5.5?
And I tell myself I should take 17.
You'll probably get more,
guys.
You'll probably get more. Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
It's funny. We gave out 12 on the podcast last week. I think I took Syracuse -12, and it moved to 13.5 within the hour. Now it moved out to 17. Now about 16.5. It just depends on if Syracuse cares, I guess, because Wazoo, they're down to their head coach, their OC, their DC, their quarterback, their running back, their wide receiver, their best offensive lineman, the best defense. Like there's no need to feel like they want to play. This is the Holiday Bowl now. This used to be like a marquee
great game,
a marquee game. I played this game one year. Like it was a ton of fun to play in San Diego in this game. And is this game at the Snapdragon Stadium now too?
Yeah,
like, so it's not even in San Diego really, right? Because that's north of San Diego. I just think this Wazoo has nothing to play for. They have pride, obviously, but it's not a very talented roster. And Syracuse is probably looking forward to finishing the season strong.
What was the sponsor when you played, Geoff? I remember like years ago, it was like the Culligan Holiday Bowl. I'm trying to think.
It was Pacific Life.
Okay. Pacific Life, but there was Culligan, SeaWorld. Yeah, they ran through a bunch of different.
It always felt whale themed. There was always a whale involved in the mascot.
Who did you guys play there? Because I know there were a bunch of good Oregon.
We lost to Oklahoma in 2006, and that game got vacated because they had a bunch of players that were ineligible that were getting like from the car dealership. It was that year.
Oh, yeah.
We finished that. We were 10-2 that year, and we lost to two teams that vacated their wins. So I think technically we went 10-0, which is so silly because USC beat the snot out of us in 2005, and Oklahoma beat us in the bowl game by a touchdown or two. I forget what it was.
Peterson was on that team?
Oh, yeah. He rushed. We faced him 3 times, 2004, 2005, 2006. And I think he rushed for 600 yards in 3 games. I mean, just incredible player.
You mentioned USC. You talk about all the opt-outs and 2 deeps, and USC's is kind of laughable as well. A&M, 4-point favorite in Vegas, where USC opened the year with the win, an upset win over LSU, and we thought at the time, man, maybe SC might win 8 games or so, and then clearly went downhill pretty quickly. I think if A&M has any interest in this game, and I don't have any info from College Station or how their practices are going. I haven't seen the latest on their opt-outs and who's playing and who's not, but I would expect A&M to win this game, guys, wouldn't you? I mean, I would certainly lay the before I would take it. And Will, you were talking about like with the Syracuse Wazoo game, like that number might move up. I think there's a chance that this thing, if word gets out one way or another on guys on A&M playing or USC even more defections, like this might be one of those games that winds up closing up near 7.
Yeah, and it already has moved. I don't have all the numbers in front of me, Sammy, but I think this opened it like Pick'em, so now you're laying 4 when you could have laid Pick'em. The only pushback would be, I remember, was that last year when Lincoln Riley did a good job in the bowl game with Moss against Louisville, where they were big underdogs and they won comfortably. So maybe Riley, with time to prepare, can dial up some offense. It would be a lean towards A&M, but I don't want to lay 4 when I could have had Pick'em, Sammy. So I passed the game, which is not a bad option in a lot of these bowl games.
Yeah, correct.
If you want to bet.
Open 1, now we're 4.
Okay.
Juice 4 at a couple spots. I see this total going up too, which is wild. I mean, USC naturally has players that can get down the field on offense. So to see this open about 50 out to 52 right now at DraftKings, that's pretty interesting. You would think that maybe with all the turnover and A&M's defense was really solid this year, you would think the total would go the other way, in the way of Oklahoma Navy, where we're going to short offense. Sharps are betting on offense in this game, and you can go over 51.5 at a couple spots. I probably won't bet the game. If I can get like 6 or 7 with USC, yes, I will get involved. But it's not a game that I really love, and it's a bowl game in Vegas.
Good point.
I played in Vegas Bowl, Sammy, and we were 7-5 that year. And
that's the Boise State game?
No, the BYU game. We lost 38 to 8, I think. The first 2 nights we had no curfew. We were staying at the Venetian, and Boise State was staying in Old Town, like I don't know, somewhere in Old Town. And they're 24 years old. They're not going out to drink. Obviously, they got kids and families, and they murdered us in that bowl game. I remember going to bowl games used to go for 7 days. Now I think they just go for like a couple days. And so you have all these activities with BYU, with other teams you play. Like there's always a talent show, and I'm 20 years old, do not have kids, do not have thinking about kids at all. And there's the guy I'm playing against, like the defensive end, is 24 years old. I meet him, like he's got 2 kids rolling around. It was a surreal experience. They beat the shit out of us. Like it was, they beat us so bad, and that actually led to Chip Kelly getting hired. So it ended up being like a turning point for our program because Mike Bellotti did a lot of soul searching. We did as a program to figure out how we not want to have this happen again to us. But anyways, on this specific game, I hate USC. I think we know that by now.
I finally admitted it.
I have like this apathy to watching them though. They're like so boring to hate. I don't like it. I want them to be hateable again. And I think that's the worst thing I could say about USC, right? Like they're a team that a lot of people do not like. I grew up a UCLA fan. That's why I do not like them. And you used to hate watch them, right? Like that was the thing everyone does. You just, sure, guys, you listening right now have a team you just hate watch. They're so bad. They're not even fun to hate watch. They're bad and boring. They're bad and boring. I know Bear hate watches the Ducks. I get that. But they're bad and boring. Purdue.
I like Oregon. I'm kidding.
I know, but they're so boring. They're just a boring team right now, boring program. Yep. That's like the worst thing I could say about them. And I'm sure people that follow USC, they're USC fans, feel the same way. All right, so that's a long ways. I have nothing on this game. I just wanted to talk about USC in a negative way.
It's your podcast. You can do whatever you want.
Thank you. Will, any thoughts? No.
No, as we wrap
Who do you hate watch, Will?
Yeah, who do you hate, Will?
No, I'm such a loving guy that I don't know that I have a team. But one game I like, look, living in Connecticut, Bear, just UNC recruits and gets much better players than UConn. It sounds like the running backs can be out for UNC, but they haven't been completely crushed by the portal. I think the fact that Belichick's there, a little renewed enthusiasm, they'll maybe a little more buttoned up with him overlooking things. So I like UNC in that game. I just think it'll be hard for UConn to score. So UNC -2.5, -3, maybe a cheap money line is probably not a bad way to go. But I don't know if the three of us have really talked about it. The four of us have talked about this on the air or off the air. Do you guys think this is going to work with Belichick, Bear?
I think it's going to be one or the other. I think it's either going to go very, very well, or I think it's going to be an unmitigated disaster. I think. But again, look. He's figured out a way, and I say this half tongue in cheek and like half kind of serious, serious, but more like tongue in cheek than anything else. Guy figured out a way to get cameras into spy on a Super Bowl, and figure out allegedly, kind of doctor footballs for Tom Brady to be able to throw a little bit better. Allegedly,
that's the dumbest story of all time. Spygate's a real thing. This is not Brady doctor footballs.
It is kind of amazing. It is amazing that all those Spygates, like tapes and documents and everything, were destroyed and don't exist anymore. But I'm just joking about the football. Yeah. But seriously, we don't think he's going to be able to figure out how to scheme against Jake Dickert and Dave Duran. Come on.
I actually think guys that they're going to win 8 or 9 games most years. I don't think they're ever going to be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to be terrible because I think Belichick can still coach. So one thing that I have concern about so far is they're not hiring any college people. Yeah, they're hiring all pro people. And I'm telling you guys, it's not. I know that people think this sport is as simple as we give you the most money, you come to us, right? But in the NFL, right, you basically pick the players. In college football, the players pick you, right? And it's a big difference. It's a big difference. And I think that I don't know if they understand that. I know the talk is NFL model. I get that. But again, the money for most of the players is about even. So it's about relationships. It's about culture building. It's about getting guys to the NFL. And I just worry that so far the hires are all pro guys, and I'm not sure, Sammy, that's always the path to success in this sport.
I'm just foreshadowing right now. I'm closing my eyes, speaking it into existence. Miami goes to Chapel Hill, and it's tied at half. How much do we have on North Carolina's second half? I mean, how much, Bear? How much?
Limit. All in.
Who do you trust at the chalkboard, Bear, to make those adjustments?
Do they play next year?
No, but who cares, hypothetically speaking?
In Charlotte for the ACC Championship game. How about that, Bear? There we go.
Oh.
Please. Hey, if SMU can get there, I mean, Bill Belichick in North Carolina could probably figure out a way. I don't know. I'm rooting for it to work. It'll be fun.
Will's a company man.
No, he's no man. I'm looking to see it. So we got his first game will be against Sonny Dykes in TCU on Saturday, August 30th. That'll be the and then he'll get
Big Noon will be there.
No. ACC campus, no chance.
He'll be at Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely.
To Julian Lewis's first start.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the. Yeah, so we're gonna have we'll have a Dabo. We'll have a Dabo Belichick game. That's an ACC slate. We'll have a Scott Frost game. North Carolina goes to UCF. This is fun to look down the schedule.
The thing about this hire though is absolutely true. It's like football schematics wise, Belichick is better than any coach you're ever going to mention here. Like he's always going to have that advantage. And I thought in New England too, at the end, the schematics wasn't the problem. The problem is he had bad football players.
Yeah.
And so does he get good football players in North Carolina? That's the question.
Yeah. One other bowl game quick that I do like. I like Washington plus the 2.5. And Will, you gave out one that the UNC UConn game. Washington plus the 2.5, Louisville, a bunch of opt-outs. Just feels like a lot of times in these bowl games, it's like about caring. And I think with the new head coach, end of the first year, I think Washington might care a little bit more about this game than Louisville, and getting 2.5. Again, I don't know if it'll hit 3. Maybe you wait a little bit. You take a little Washington on the money line as well. I know, Geoff, you played in this game in the Sun Bowl. Again, this is a
ton of fun.
This is one of those where are you there to play the game or kind of go across the border to Juarez? And I
don't know how much Juarez is happening anymore, but yes, that was a Sun Bowl staple was go across to Juarez. We did not, and we beat South Florida by a lot of points. They went to Juarez for a night.
I want a 30 for 30 on Geoff Schwartz's extracurricular bowl activities. That would be a lot of fun.
Sounds like you played in every bowl game.
Yeah.
Well, we played the 3 we mentioned so far: Holiday, Vegas, and Sun Bowl. Those are the 3 I played in. I was 20 in Las Vegas. I couldn't go out. My buddy made me this terrible fake ID that wouldn't even pass for like a Eugene bar, so I couldn't go out of Vegas. And then Sun Bowl, we decided to stay in because we got our ass kicked in Las Vegas, so we didn't do very much in El Paso. But yeah, I mean, bowl games, you went for a week. It used to be a big thing. Now you go for like 2 days. I think COVID sort of ended the bowl game traditions of going for a week, and every day there's an event. And the Sun Bowl was the best bowl game as far as the way the committee treated you, like, because it's El Paso, and so we got like top-notch treatment, good entertainment, good food, like. They really took care of us.
Swag
in El Paso.
What was the best swag you got?
I still have a Sun Bowl, a Brute Sun Bowl toiletry kit. Might be the oldest thing I own.
The Brute Sun Bowl, I love it.
From that would have been December 31st, 2007. The old Sun Bowl.
Nice.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I love looking at like the old, and I'm sure someone's going to wind up posting it at some point when Kansas State plays the State University of New Jersey here soon. Like the Bill Snyder Bowl windbreaker collection when he breaks the Copper Bowl windbreaker, like the Bill Snyder wearing like the bowl jackets from like 8 years earlier. Just one of my favorite things when you see him randomly sporting those jackets. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing a Bill Snyder Copper Bowl windbreaker image on the internet soon. Guys, appreciate you. We'll be back again. I don't know. We'll be back again at some point to preview the semis.
All right, back again with group chat. No FCS play this week, Bear. We did hit Montana State last week. We'll have one for you guys when the championship game comes around after the new year. Let's get quickly to my fade of the week. Again, it's hard for these bowl games to find some of these situations to wager against a team. I'm going to wager really against Miami in this game. Take Iowa State +4 for a couple reasons. One is I don't know how long Cam Ward is going to play. I don't think he's going to play the entire game, just historically speaking, when it comes to some of these starting quarterbacks or high draft picks. They might play a quarter or two. But Iowa State has a quarterback coming back. It's Miami. It's a big-time opponent, Bear. And Miami plays no defense. So I like Iowa State +4 in this game. I don't know. I just, again, bowl season's hard. I'll take Iowa State here +4.
But I'm happy because on it wasn't Christmas Eve, it was Monday night. My fortune, you will come out ahead this week.
Oh,
and right then and there, I knew it was going to be a good week. So this is one of those fortunes that you're just going to hang on to. You will come out ahead this week. I mean, a good omen for the week, and hopefully a good omen for my best bet presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, which I think we submit these like separately, we have no idea what we're going to play, and we both want the same best bet. So I'm going to give you Washington plus 2.5 as a best bet. But the tandem group bet, it's going to be Penn State minus the 11 against Boise State. We kind of laid it out, outlined. I don't know how many stops Boise State's going to get. I think the Penn State offense. You saw, we hit on it in the group chat as well. Like, schedules matter. There's no greater schedule-adjusted, schedule-oriented sport, both result-related, game-related, stat-related, than college football. You saw what happened with Indiana, got rolled at Notre Dame. You saw what happened with SMU, got drilled by Penn State. It's the same thing here. And I know, Geoff, you laid it out with the Oregon, Boise State thing earlier in the year, why this is different and why don't necessarily think, because they went to Autzen in September and played a different Oregon team then with a different offensive line and the injuries that they had then, that you're going to see it on a neutral field here. I think Penn State, the game fits into the type of game, the system that James Franklin and Penn State win big usually, and I think the Nittany Lions do just that and move on to the semifinal to take on the winner of that Notre Dame Georgia team.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add, Bear, for my best bet here, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I just think if we look at last weekend and SMU and we look at Indiana, the same thing applies for Boise State. They're not as good as Penn State. They haven't played anyone like Penn State since September 7th, whatever day I said that first game was against Oregon. And it's just a giant stuff. And look, Genty's better than anyone at SMU or anyone on Indiana. I get that. But they feel one-dimensional offensively. If you say, okay, we're not going to let you run the football, because of Boise State's offense? And another way around, they're not going to stop Penn State. Like, this is a game where Drew Aller doesn't have to do anything. Like, you don't even have to have a Drew Aller like, is he going to win? Is he not going to win this game? And lastly, James Franklin is a favorite of 7 to 24 points, 19-1-1 against the spread. Good spot to have Penn State here. I like the Nittany Lions.
It is, and we'll see if we can get that one home, and hopefully we'll get. Are we going to get one of these underdogs to win outright this week? I mean, I don't think either Arizona.
Oh, you mean the two big ones? No. Because
I don't consider, I wouldn't consider Notre Dame beating Georgia really an upset, or Oregon beating Ohio State upset. Yeah. These are toss-up games.
Yes, agreed.
Appreciate Sammy and Will as always. Appreciate you as always, Geoff. Hope you had a great week out there in Utah. Appreciate every one of you out there for downloading wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, checking us out on our YouTube channel to see that lovely drape behind Geoff in the Utah Lodge on the roadside motel. Love you for our new time slot on FS1 and FS2 as well. FS1, FS2, maybe both. I'm putting us on both, regardless of whether we are or we are not. Once again, as always, my holiday gift to you. Remember, the less you bet, the more you lose when you win.